Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're looking at Destroyer Duck #1. This is by Eclipse Comics. This was $1.50, and I'm not even going to guess what year it is because I'm going to say the wrong year. But this was a special comic with a bizarre history and a backstory a mile long. Okay, well we'll look at the credits when we open up. But this is Jack Kirby doing the cover. Okay, and this is Destroyer Duck. This is his first appearance. Okay, this is like a fake legal letter from God Corp Limited Inter-Office All right, so and it's purposely looking like a Marvel comic. So this is Destroyer Duck, man-slaying mallard on a mission of vengeance. Created by Steve Gerber and Jack Kirby, inked by Alfredo Acala, Steve Leliola, colorist, and Beak consultant, and Tom Orzowski, letterer. It's got the whole world in its hand. And let's look at the indicia. Destroyer Duck #1, 1982. I'm glad I didn't say anything because I would have said a different year. So as you can hear, my voice is a little scratchy. But so this is Destroyer Duck. He's I think his name is Duke, and he's just a regular blue collar worker, construction worker, and he's a duck. And he works for God Corp, and one of his buddies just disappeared, and nobody knows where he is. So he's like, "Isn't anybody upset? Doesn't anybody want to know what happened to him?" And everybody's just like, "I gotta go home. I got jobs to do. I gotta work." And he's furious. Like, what's going on? And they're laughing and goofing at him. Jack Kirby did some funny animal work before. What was the alligator strip? But he did an alligator strip, and he also did some comedy with the Fighting American. Fighting American was like kind of goofy Captain America with gags and everything like that. And he also did some comedy writing. So this isn't out of his purview. And Steve Gerber, what can I say about Steve Gerber? Steve Gerber was a lunatic. just a crazy guy. He was hired by Roy Thomas, so he was a second generation comic book writer. I think Steve Gerber and Roy Thomas were friends back when they were fans. And when Roy Thomas got hired by Stan Lee, when he became editor-in-chief, he hired Steve Gerber. Now, one of the things, I always said that the Roy Thomas years were kind of unfocused. And Gerber is the biggest unfocal point of Marvel at the time. So there was only one editor. So most of the writers at the time, while Roy Thomas was the editor-in-chief, were their own editors. And I've said that a few times, that that's not a good idea to have, people. You need an unobjective eye to rein in your craziness. And Steve Gerber thrives on craziness. So, he while he liked comic books, he also liked the absurdities of comic books. So he wasn't above like making fun of his meal ticket being comic books. So he would write like on a few layers. The first layer, it would look like regular old comic books, and then the second layer, it would be like absurdity. And he liked to see, like, Wally Wood was a troublemaker. Steve Gerber was, oh man, can you imagine Steve Gerber Wally Wood comic? Oh man. But anyway, Steve Gerber was a troublemaker, and he liked to see how much he could get away with. Well, when Roy Thomas is running the whole company and letting Steve edit his own stuff, the answer is a lot. So he was writing Adventures into Fear, and I'll flip more pages. He was writing Adventures into Fear, and Adventures into Fear was about the Man-Thing, and Steve Gerber made up the Man-Thing. And there was a whole bunch of like Swamp Things and the Heap and stuff like that at the time. What made the Man-Thing different was that the Man-Thing didn't have a personality. He didn't have he was just a shambling muck. He was a potato. his personality was potato, and he was an empath. It was really interesting. I liked the Man-Thing, and then he just was, and the Man-Thing would go across the Florida Everglades, and it turned out that was the nexus of all realities, and he was its guardian. And then there was like a loser wizard who hung out with the Jennifer Hale, who was just just a random girl, and then she became a sorceress too, being trained. And then there was like a a barbarian whose name escapes me. He like materialized through a jar of peanut butter. Yes, a jar of peanut butter. And then the craziest thing was the cosmic alignment shifted, and Howard the Duck walked out. So he created Howard the Duck. And Roy Thomas hated Howard the Duck, so he's like, just get rid of him. So he had Howard the Duck just walk off a cliff into like a vortex of eternity. But guess what? The fans liked him. So the fans kept pestering, when's Howard coming back? When's Howard coming back? So, they want to make money. They brought Howard back. And next thing you know, he's running for president. He's showing up in other comics. And they had a bona fide hit at the time. Now, success could cause its own problems. Disney reared its ugly head and told Steve that they wanted to change him or they're going to be a lawsuit. They wanted him to basically just wear pants because, outside of America, people get into Howard the Duck and Donald the Duck confused. So just put pants on Howard and we'll call it a day. And, of course, he refused to do it. As a matter of fact, he made a story about how ridiculous it was for a duck to wear pants. So there you go. Disney was a little pissed. So he was kind of ordered. So now, these days, Howard wears pants. But then how Steve Gerber got permission from Marvel and he started licensing stuff. He made pins and things like that. So he was doing a lot of things that like regular Marvel guys weren't doing. And what else happened? Now there's talks of a movie. The Howard the Duck movie was in pre-production for years. So Steve got a little annoyed. He was like, wow, my creation's taken off. I want some more money. I want more, and royalties weren't a thing at Marvel at the time. So he sued Marvel. Well, once he sued Marvel, he was terminated. And he wanted to raise money for a lawyer. So enter this comic, Destroyer Duck. So he was talking to Jack Kirby, and Jack Kirby had a little problems, very similar problems with Marvel at the time. So they teamed up and they made this comic. Nobody got paid for anything. All the proceeds went to Steve Gerber's lawsuit. So special lawsuit benefit edition. And I think they sold like 300,000 copies. So Eclipse was like, you got to continue this comic. So there's a couple more issues after this. I think 7. I think a total of 7 issues. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, so this comic came out as a means to raise money for the lawsuit. And the lawsuit was settled, and I think he got partial ownership and some royalties. But he never worked for Marvel again after that, as far as I know. So what do we have here is a story of Joe. This is like a working class his nickname is Destroyer Duck, and he wants to find out what happened to his friend. His friend was working for GodCorp, Marvel, and he was disappeared, and he wants to know what's happened, and everybody else doesn't want to help him. So that's a story. And I can't remember this. GodCorp, grab it all, own it all, drain it all here. So this is the president of the CEO of GodCorp, Neil Packer, and that's a very unveiled attack at Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter took over for Roy Thomas, and Jim Shooter and Steve Gerber, they had it out. And I told you, people don't particularly like Jim Shooter. A lot of the creators didn't like him. I was just a kid who enjoyed the comics, so the comics were wonderful. I didn't know the backstory, and so here he is attacking Jim Shooter. It's not too subtle. And this is his lawyer. He's even poking fun at his own lawyer, but he's a superhero with the justice scale and stuff like that. So there you go. And then Jack Kirby threw in some stuff like this battle axe, this woman with the cosmic battle axe and everything like that. And he's going through all of these trials and tribulations to find out what happened to his friend. And at the end, they rescue his friend. And then we have other people doing some stories. This is as told to Mark Evanier, drawn by Dan Spiegel. Dan Spiegel, Mark Evanier translates Sergio Aragonés on Gru the Wanderer, and Dan Spiegel. Why can't I remember what Dan Spiegel did? That's going to drive me nuts. So this is some of their work. And then the Adventures of Thelma Iron-Thighs. She defends the defenseless. She helps us. She saves humanity. She destroys egos, and she gets her way. Who is this? Sherry Funkelman. I have no idea. To tell you the truth, I don't remember this. Great Moments in Comic Book History by Marty Pasco. Marty Pasco wrote Swamp Thing before Alan Moore. Joe Staton and Scott Shaw. I don't know anything about Scott Shaw, but Joe Staton, wonderful DC artist. He did a Huntress series. Amazing stuff. Connie Dobbs, letterer, Gordon, and all these people they contributed this work for free because it was all to help. Steve Gerber's lawsuit. And here we go. Gru the Wanderer by Sergio Aragonés. This is the first appearance of Gru the Wanderer. So this comic goes for a pretty penny because of this. And a couple of pages. Notice there's no words because Sergio Aragonés speaks Spanish, and and Mark Cavanier was always the translator. So, and here's Foog, Friends of Old Gerber, spoofing on Foom, Friends of Old Marvel. And there you go. This was a super success. It was a big deal. I remember when it came out. You know, I was like basically ordered to get it by my comic book guy, my comic book pusher. He was like, "You got to get this. It's for a good cause." And I didn't know the legalities of it, and I didn't particularly care for it at the time because you know it was goofy, silly animals, and I was a kid into superhero comics. But you know, whatever. I got it, and I'm glad I did. So this was an interesting comic with an interesting interesting history. The comic itself, no great shakes, but it's what it's all about. So here you go. There's a little history lesson on Destroyer Duck by Steve Gerber and Jack Kirby, both of who have passed on. So there's no chances of a reuniting. Right? Thanks a lot. I don't know. Should I go back to the Dungeons Dragons? It doesn't look like I'm getting too many views, but then again, I don't seem to get many views on the weekend. So let me know what you think. I could go back to the Arts and Arcana, or I could just stay with comic books. I have a couple of other ideas. But thanks a lot. I'll see you tomorrow, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to check out my videos. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.